Okay, I'm going to show you how to start this crusher. Go to the control panel, and all you do is flip the switch on, and then this is a momentary switch. So the batteries are disconnected, so you push up until it starts and let go, and then just let it idle till it warms up 5 or 10 minutes. And then to run it, all you have to do is flip it on high, flip it down, and it'll rev up to 1850 RPMs. The torque converter runs all the time, so as soon as you start this up, the hammer mill will run and it will spin. So you don't want to start this machine up with that hammer mill opened. So on the end of this shaft, there's a 10 shiv pulley. 4 belts go up to the generator, it's in front of it, and then 6 belts go back and drive the hammer mill. So as soon as you start it, it turns, so be careful. To open these doors, all you do is flip up these little tabs. The door comes out and you just pick it up, pull it out. This is behind here is where you check the engine oil and fill it. The hydraulics are run by the Honda engine. It does have a place for a battery, small battery, and it does have electric start. The electric start works, but it doesn't charge fast enough because you don't run this engine very much, so eventually it'll die on you. But you can hook it up if you want. Just be careful when you start this thing. Get it to the compression mode because it kicks you. So get it good and tight before you pull it, and it'll start right up. Turn the key on, and then turn it off. Just turn the key off. But all the hydraulics are run by that engine. So once you get that engine running, here are the controls for it. It's right below the hammer mill. And the first 4 controls, these 2 control the front outriggers that picks the machine up and down, and these 2 control the back outriggers that pick the whole machine up and down. So when we ran it, we always ran it up so the wheels are off the ground just a little bit, and the front is up as high as you need to for the stacker to fit underneath. This control runs that hydraulic cylinder that lifts the box. You'll see the 2 tabs, 2 round things over there. You got to loosen them up. 2 on this side, there's 2 on the other side. And then just use this hydraulic cylinder, just lifts it up, down. And just pick it up, and it folds all the way over where those 2 big bolts up there will almost hit the toolbox. It'll be about 6 inches away. This controller, the second one, runs the control of those 2 big things we were just talking about, and that lifts that up. That's how you adjust the feed that comes out of the crusher. And there's those wedges up there. When you pick it up, you can slide those in and out. There's 3 of them on each side, and it's set real close now, like about less than an inch, so you can't put it down anymore. It'll hit the hammer mill inside. And then the third control here is for the top one, and we've never moved that. So but it does pick it up and down. There's a big apron and up on the top part of that. So if you need to move that, you can. Well, this is the feeder, grizzly, shaker, whatever you want to call it. And it runs off a electric motor here. I can't see too much, but there's a place to change the oil in here that you need to do. I do it every time. Get the ground thing. There's a I think it's a 15/16 big like a nut on the bottom, and you just open it up and drain it. I usually put 2 5-gallon buckets underneath it, fill one and then just fill the other one. Holds about six gallons. And but one thing you want to do for sure every time you change it, like I say, I changed every time I service the engine with about 400 hours, is this little cap up here. Take it off and just clean it. It's a breather, and you want this thing to breathe. There's just a little metal mesh screen in there that I usually clean with mineral spirits. And you got to take this off anyway. You got to use a little pipe wrench. This is how you fill it from up here. Once you have the engine running at high speed at 1850 RPMs, you push this button and it'll sound the audible alarm for like 6 seconds. You just push it in and let go, and then you start it with the stacker first. Just start it, and this is the delivery belt. It's the belt underneath. Start this one, and then you start the shaker grizzlies, this one. If this turns off, everything else will turn off behind it. So when the stacker in the front, if something happens and the electric motor goes out or something, then it would stop the rest of the stuff. So, and this is your variable speed feeder right here. We usually run it on about 55%. It's at about 45 now. It's what we were running the concrete in when you were here to test the machine. So that variable speed feeder is controlled over here. Is the electrics for it. It's in this box. And every once in a while, if you move it around a lot or you run it a lot, and it shakes this loose, so your shaker won't start sometimes. It'll just kind of hum. All you have to do is come in here and just push this in like this. Just kind of a couple times, and it'll go. I've had it before where if you read this thing, there's a digital readout right here, and it'll show how fast it is. So if you set that on 45 over there, this will read 45. Kind of hard to read, but if this does say reset on here, did it once, you just follow the directions. Push reset, I think it's 1 or 2 times, and then restart it from the other side, and it works. That's your generator, that big thing right there. It's running off of the engine. There's your fuel tank. Just make sure when you fuel it, it's got a plastic top on it. You want to tighten this up pretty tight. Not too tight, it'll get stuck, but if it's too loose, it'll fall off. It'll vibrate off. And then your shaker grizzlies there. Under the feeder, this little place, this is where that little stacker used to go. It used to stick out just straight ahead. And the chute, if you, supposedly, I've never done it, but if you move that bar, fold it down, it opens that up where everything on top that goes through those grizzly bars, the 3-inch grizzly bars, will fall down here and it'll come out to the side. I'm going to assume you would plug that in one of these spare plugs here. The stacker has an electrical cord, and the stacker goes into the one that doesn't have the cover on it. It goes in here. You got to kind of wiggle it in, make sure it locks, spin it, and this thing will lock down on it. Down inside your electrical panel, before you open this up, you want to turn this off. That's your main disconnect. Turns all the electric off for the whole machine. You open this up, and in here, what it does, it starts, the ones that are being used is this one. It says stacker on it. This one says under crusher, and this one's a feeder. 3 motors, 3 circuit breakers, and then these are the heaters. So you'll have, this is a spare, this is a spare, and this is a spare. Used to have a magnet, evidently. This is probably that conveyor. That little conveyor goes here. And then this is your main disconnect. Another thing I did, this is a little 24 to 12 volt converter I hooked in to the feeder switch for the grizzlies back there. And it's run by this little remote control up top. And I'll include it. I showed you that little red push button thing in case like a big piece of metal gets in there, like a tooth or something, and starts banging around. You want to push that button down to stop the feeder, and then that whatever's inside there will pop back out the back. If you want to disconnect the Bluetooth, all you have to do is take this wire. This is what comes off of the Bluetooth right here. You can hook this right here and put that wire back up in this section. So you'll see these are all the controllers for the crusher itself, and this is one of the main ones. So this way I could just go back in here. All you need to do is take this little plug out here, disconnect it here, and plug it right in there. That way you don't have to keep taking that in and out. I'll give you some extra buttons for these. I think I've got 3 of these 20 amp breakers, maybe 15 too, but whatever breakers I have and parts I have, you'll get. When you go to close this door closes first, and you might have to jiggle this little thing in here when it closes. And when I do, I just usually use my knee to push this in my hand, and then just lock it closed. And then just make sure you turn this back on. And everything will work.